You're like all the way through the video of it as well, and it's really beautifully done and put together. But maybe like sort of reflecting, what are the main things you sort of over the past 3 years, lessons learned, things which are sort of like key sort of takeaways for you? Robin, what would you sort of see as the main sort of lessons learned over the past 3 years? Because so much in that about 30 seconds of me sort of saying what's in the report, there's so many things sort of expanded there, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, I have to admit that my ambitions were not as great as our achievements have been to date, because I didn't really expect us to have made the progress we did. We have, sorry. So to me, it's been a pleasant surprise. I've always been an optimist, but I really wasn't that optimistic that we could be still here in 3 years' time and making the difference that we've made.
Yeah, I mean, what a lot of differences. You know, from you think like the 10-point. We're going to talk about it in a bit, but the 10-point plan has been like, I don't know, a way that people have just had something to really capture, isn't it? I think that was an absolute genius idea of like be able to give people something to actually deal with. Well, I think, but yeah, it's just something really good to unlock and just help people to be able to get involved, really, isn't it? You know, Stella, any sort of.
Sorry, can I just say that credit has to go to Stella and Amajit for responding to the need that was there by developing the 10-point plan diagnostic toolkit, and it's really been one of the key planks of our progress. So sorry to butt in.
No, not at all. You can butt in whenever you want, Robin. It's totally fine. And I think, and you know, today, unfortunately, Robin and Stella are with us, but Amajit can't make it today, which is a real shame. But we're talking about other articles that Amajit can maybe unlock or show a few things more, because such a lot of progress. Stella, I mean, for you, what's been sort of lessons learned?
Huge lessons, Gavin. Like Robin, I've learned that to expect the unexpected, really. I didn't expect that we would have achieved so much, or that people would come along and want to be a part of, because we started off with an open letter, as you know, to the Prime Minister and to the Secretary of State and other key stakeholders, awarding bodies and so on, and the Inspectorate. We put out 10 priorities and we thought that was it. But you can't really legislate or tell how human beings will react. And that push that propelled us to the next steps, didn't expect it. So one thing I've learned is that, you know, you can expect things from some people and not get any traction whatsoever. And from the most unexpected spaces, you get opportunities. You see people who are hungry to be part of making a difference, and that's been a great learning point. Just that we sow the seeds, and you have no idea where the plants are going to shoot up, and to continue with that analogy, where the fruit's going to come from. So we've got people who we've come across organizations and individuals who put their heads in the sand about racism, who are fearful, who don't want to engage, and there are others, both our white colleagues and allies, as well as black colleagues and allies, who really want to go for it, who want a sense of direction, who want leadership, who are conscious of the fact that they could be making mistakes. You know, they don't want to say the wrong thing. They don't want to offend, but they are willing to go along on that journey. So I think that for me was sort of like the main learning point. And also, as we went along, to know that we truly, our approach of making the most of an ethnically diverse Britain has been the right one, because we've seen this in action, where we have an argument. Look, we're wasting talent. You talked about the talent pipe. We need to do something. There's a moral argument. There's an economic argument. There's a social argument. And over time, I've come, we all, haven't we, Robin, have come to realize that this is, this and that singular focus on anti-racism, in spite of, sort of like all other intersectionalities that we might go into, that singular focus has been really, really fruitful. And therefore I certainly talk about anti-racism being that rising tide that lifts us all, and now we do ethnicity, and now we do gender, but that as we focus on this, that everyone benefits. So those are positive things. I've also learned, Gavin, that it's hard work. It's heavy lifting, because 400 plus years of racism isn't untangled in a year, let alone 3 years.
Yeah, no, definitely. But what a lot of progress, though, and I think what's been a key thing, and I think is absolute super credit to you, is that it's taken everyone on a journey. Not everyone's got all the answers. It's just like, how can we all work together to be able to make impactful change? And you've done that from the very, very, very get-go. And I think that's like absolute credit, because it's bringing everyone on the journey, because it needs everyone on the journey, doesn't it? It's about to make a difference. And in saying that, everyone, we are live. So it's 10:09 at the moment. So we're gonna, if you want to be able to get involved and ask any questions, this could be about a 45-minute show. So we're live. So last 15 minutes, if you want to, you can ask anything of Stella and Robin. They'll be more than happy to help you. And I wanted to say that because sometimes people can feel, I don't know what to say. Do you know what I mean? I can say the wrong thing. And this is a time when you can't do that. You're able to ask anything to be able to help things progress and move forward. So just, I'll hold any comments for later. But please, if you want to ask anything, Stella and Robin, I've known for years, and we'll be able to answer this for you and be able to unpack anything, or be able to sort of break it down for you so you're easy to be able to move forward. That 10-point plan from the beginning, I think what was so genius about it is it gave people something to be able to grab onto and make a change. So looking forward, I mean, I would really encourage everyone to check out the impact report. It's really, really good. It's also really inclusive. It's really easy to be able to check it out. You can just grab a coffee and just watch it, literally, and you can then sort of really be able to see what's happening, reflecting, but also looking forward. But I was wondering if we could sort of look to the future as to some of the things that you got in the report. One thing that really stood out to me, we had a show called London Calling. And and this sort of BLG is opened up now. It's not around further education. It's we're talking HE, schools, voluntary organisations, businesses, 4 nations, Welsh Government. I want to talk about in a bit. Some really cool stuff with what cool things Welsh Government did. But I wanted to talk about Greater London Authority, because there's some really, really interesting things around equity by design. I didn't know, Robin, maybe if you wanted to explain a little bit more about that, seeing as you're based in GLA as well, and the such. It must be really nice to be able to work on a project on your doorstep, and to be able to see the impact of that. I didn't know if you wanted to sort of explain that a little bit more to the audience.
Yeah, there was an element of serendipity about our engagement with the GLA, in that Tom Buick, Professor Tom Buick, who's a good friend of FE News, was the person who connected us with our partners at DK&A Associates. So we got together because Tom understood what DK&A wanted, and we matched the spec, so to speak. And as a result, I use the word serendipity, we got together to bid for this new iteration of the Workforce Integration Network project that's been running in the GLA for years. Simply put, it's the Mayor's office wanting to see a better reflection of London's population in the workforce at all levels. So quite clearly in our territory. So it's been a great meeting of minds, in that DK&A bring their design principles, expertise, and we bring our anti-racist expertise. And although it's wrapped up in EDI speak, the thrust is anti-racist practice by the three key sectors that the Mayor's Office want to touch on. That's creative, it's NHS, and it's the green industries. And that's really blossomed, Gavin, because now we're looking forward to 2025 when there'll be another three sectors that we'll be going into. So we're getting traction. We're making a difference. We had a fantastic meeting yesterday, with the NHS Confederation colleagues, because they really are keen on the model that we developed, because they see it as a way not just of addressing underrepresentation in the workforce, but also improving service delivery.
And what's interesting is that those are, for London especially, but for the UK, largest employer in the UK, NHS. Creative industry is like massive for the UK economy, and I know Rishi's had a little bit of a rethink about net zero, but green economy is going to be massive for our future. So I think that's absolutely huge. And also, as a little aside, that this is what I think has been a real key to BLG's success, is that you also, guys, you work with partners, you highlight the partners. So like, raising, I bet Tommy's looking at this anyway, and it's probably like doing a bit of a cheer, but that's brilliant that you're like this sort of like highlighting different partners within there. And Stella, I mean, I wanted to talk to you a little bit more around 10-point planning in a little bit, but it's interesting. When we first talking about all of this, it was colleges we was really talking that. Today you're talking at an AELP conference. I think every single Fab conference I've been to since you've been launched, you've been at every single Fab conference, and it's sort of that's FE. HE is all covered. Schools, large employers, like the largest employer in the UK, and like 4 nations. It's fantastic. I mean, how is the 10-point plan is sort of evolving? Do you know what I mean? And sort of being a way that people can catch on to it, and stuff. I didn't know if you wanted to sort of explain some of the other things you've been doing with the 10-point plan as well.
Yeah, the 10-point plan is really simple. It's evolved, as you know, Gavin, from our the priorities we put in our open letter, because we thought we wouldn't just say, there are things wrong. We proposed these are the actions that need to be taken by all stakeholders to improve representation and attainment, and really to embed a culture of inclusivity and ethnic diversity across the UK and across life and UK life and work and education. And that's what, and then people just went, unexpectedly, Gavin, they just started self-assessing against the priorities. They called it the 10-point plan. Organizations did. And we were contacted. We need help. Can you do something? Can you do something? And therefore we saw that need in response. As Robin said, Amajit and I worked on developing the 10-point plan, which was very much around education and very much focused on FE, because we have got FE in our DNA, or all of us, all 3 of us, and that's where we've come from. But as the work expanded, we found that people who weren't from FE and who weren't from, an educational background wanted to get involved. So there is actually now a 10-point plan for higher education, which is called HEART, Higher Education, the higher education version called HEART of the 10-point plan. And what's important is that we were very, very conscious of the fact of our areas of knowledge and our language, and in evolving the 10-point plan, the different versions, we then involved people from the very different sectors who knew the language, who knew, their landscape, to help evolve the 10-point plan. Therefore, in the GLA work, you will find that the training and the equity by design has got embedded within it the 10-point plan for business actions, and that's so using, and other people can use that. Similarly, for our work in Wales, and it's interesting you talk about how we have included people, and really how partners like Tom Buick, early supporter with the Federation of Awarding Bodies, pointed us to DKNA. Similarly, our partnership with Coleg Al Cymru, which is Colleges Wales, the association for colleges in Wales. Our association with them led us to the Welsh Government and the work that we've been doing in Wales, supporting, and we're very proud of this, the Anti-Racist Wales 2030 Action Plan. We're actually embedded within it and very much really a part of the work that's going on there. And in the work that we've done, we've developed a 10-point plan for Wales version, which is embedded within that work. And with the schools as well, we've had to work with head teachers, deputy head teachers, and people who know the schools landscape to evolve the 10-point plan for schools. And that's really, and we now, we have got a multi-academy trust with 31 or 32 schools, the Elliott Foundation, working with the 10-point plan for early years, primary and secondary. So it's been the connections, it's been people, the partners, the strategic partnerships, people who really want to see the work move forward. And that's really how the 10-point plan has evolved, with a very simple framework. But it isn't just the framework, I hasten to add, Gavin. It's about deep cultural change, and it's the training and the support that goes with the 10-point plan as a starting point. And Amajit's done amazing work rolling forward that training with our associates that really is bringing change right from and through the affiliation model, which you know about, where it is, we start from the top, the governors are there, the chair of governors, the chief exec, all the way vertically, horizontally across these organizations, looking at deep cultural change. I hasten to add, there's no kite mark, you don't get a badge, you don't get it's really hard work, heavy lifting with BLG, with ourselves supporting, and the networks. You wanted maybe to touch on the communities of practice. These affiliated organizations then come together to as communities, affiliated organization communities and user groups. They're sharing practice, they're doing projects together. So it's snowballing. There's an HR directors network attached to the affiliate. So it's just so it's great to see people working together and moving anti-racism forward, becoming anti-racist organizations, and also really moving from being non-racist to anti-racist, being passive to active. So 10-point plan and lots of other things associated with the 10-point plan, but it's been a huge success. It's been in its simplicity as well as its depth and the support that BLG brings to the organizations.
But that's the thing, though. That was the genius of it, was that it gave people something to actually be able to tangibly take and be able to deliver. But what was an incredibly complex problem, and like you're saying, it's deep cultural change, and I could so get around like the heavy lifting sort of side of things and stuff like that. But what progress in 3 years is great, but there's so much more to do. Is the thing. Robin, I didn't know if we could maybe talk a little bit around EEE. So for everyone, that's Ethnic Equity in Education, and maybe Robin, if you could, maybe unpack a little bit around the recent DFE workforce data stuff as well, to put that into context a little bit. It would be really, really cool, because this is deep cultural change again, isn't it? It's like, how can we make a difference, and how can we help people? And then I want to sort of talk a little bit about Future Talent Pipeline, because you've been thinking about it all around strategically around it must have been a bunch of strategic college principals or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
But like, it'd be really good to look at a little bit more on EEE, if that's all right.
Yeah. I mean, that was one of the key thrusts of our open letter, was that, you know, we were flagging up concerns about the underrepresentation of Black communities in the workforce, in the FE workforce, especially at senior levels. And so when we came out, when we published our open letter, I think there were 19 or 20 Black principals in the system, and that does not reflect the ethnic profile of the population nationally. But what's been really worrying, Gavin, is over the 3 years, there's been a steady decline in representation, not going up. There was an initial sort of uplift when people like Pat Covello and Palvinder Singh were appointed. But now, since then, it's declined. And the publication of the workforce data has really confirmed our concerns, in that it's given us really clear data, baseline data, about where the sector is now and what we need to do in order to progress. And I think people have been quite shocked by the figures. Now, we know, for example, now that at leadership levels, that's tier 1 and 2, 7.2% of the population of the leadership of FE is Black and minority ethnic, as you know, or Black as we prefer to characterize it. 8.6% of managers. And then looking at the sort of where the rubber hits the road, 14% of teachers, FE teachers. And yet at the same time, if you look at the AOC figures for 21-22, which is the comparison for the workforce data capture, 30.5% of FE students are Black. So we're nowhere near replicating that representation anywhere in our workforce. The level of governance is around about 6-7%, I think. Lots of vacancies, but if you take out staff governors, I think that figure is even worse. So we have a problem. Now we have the 21-22 data. We have the census data, 21, which tells us that the population of the UK, the Black population of the UK, England and Wales only, because the Scottish data is a bit behind. So looking at that, we have a real problem. That's what was the thrust behind the ethnic equity in education campaign. Because as Stella says, this is not just about numbers. It's about the culture of FE. It's about the heart and soul of FE. And quite frankly, if we can't get it right in education, we will never get it right in the workforce. And we will never have a prosperous and socially cohesive country, which is what everybody wants and needs. So that's the thrust behind our ethnic equity in education campaign.
Yeah, and I mean, those are stark figures, really, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I know...
I would also add on, if you look at London, London, 46% of the population is Black. If you look at the young age groups, that's going to be 60-70%. And yet in FE, there are only 2 Black principals out of 31 in London. You know, there are the same number as there are in Hampshire in the whole of London.
That's just crazy.
It's unacceptable. So it's not a question of us moaning about it. We have to do something, and so we've mobilized the sector to get behind us, to support us. And when I say the sector, I'm talking about the DFE as well, AOC, SFCA, ETF, Ofsted, you know, and a number of colleges that really are true believers in ethnic equity in education. First meeting that's been really good, really positive. So I've got a really good feeling about this.
Yeah.
And we plan to move from FE and start the higher education one in the autumn, and then move on to schools. So we're covering the different strands of education, really, with the same sort of engagement of key stakeholders as well, right up into the new year, into the spring. And Robin, I don't know whether you wanted to mention who's sitting chairing all this.
Yeah, I think you should do that, Stella.
Oh my! Well, you could, but we have got Nazir Afzal, who is a great champion of our work and really an activist worldwide. He's going to be pulling together the different chairing the Apex group that pulls all the different sector ideas, proposals together. And right now, like Robin said, there's been just such great engagement from, again, expected and unexpected sources, certainly in the FE strand. And we just, like Robin said, there's a good feeling. We believe that they are really going to suggest, and something will shift in terms of this roadmap that's going to be produced for the different sectors that will bring a certain change in the UK. It's the UK-wide thing.
Yeah, and chairing the FE consultative group is Anthony Bravo, who's principal of Basingstoke College of Technology, a very well-established and respected principal. I think the group wanted the leadership of their leader, their chair, to be somebody of lived experience, but also who had experience and respect in the sector.
And he's also like a real lead.
He's going to do a great job.
Yeah, I really like Anthony. What a good, because also he's also thinking about the future of FE as well, because he's like a lead on ed technology.
Yes.
He's like all of his team beneath him is all like, pretty much on every group there is around, like sort of lead on technology as well. So really cool appointment there as well. He's a guy who gets stuff done, isn't he? He sort of rolls his sleeves up and does it. Yeah, good, cool. So with the next sort of part of this, Sophia, I want to mention your stuff. I've had a comment through from Sophia, but I want to wrap that in a minute. Sorry, I literally saw it as I asked about EEE. So Sophia, don't worry, I'll bring it in a minute. But like the future talent pipeline, this sort of rolls into this quite a lot. And I think it seems to me, from knowing you guys as I do, this seems to be like the 10-point sort of plan idea sort of approach. What have you learned from that? Then how can you replicate this into universities, into schools, into business? So I know you've been working with for a while now the main sort of recruiters in the sector to be thinking around that. So you've got the BLG like job board as well, which is really good idea to to try to help with increasing awareness of opportunities, isn't it? How can you do that? A really practical way of doing it. But I know that you're also looking at the Institute of Black Leadership as well, and looking purely at future talent pipelines and mentoring people. So, like you said, given the numbers, and obviously these things can all vary regionally as well, but people do move around, don't they? But how you're like developing people coming into the start of the sector to be those future leaders, and those future leaders, how they can sort of mentor people of the future. Because I know you've all had different mentoring times with people. You've mentioned that many times, and how you're looking to do that. So I don't know if you could maybe have a bit of an unpack around what is going on with the Institute and the future talent pipeline, because I think that's key to be able to unlock this, isn't it? Really, it's like you said, it isn't moaning. What can be done to be able to sort of deliver on it? Really, isn't it?
Shall I start, Stella?
Please do.
I think the key thing is that when you see those numbers that I quoted earlier, the main challenge is, where do we start? And we know from our experience in the past that if you don't create that pipeline, if you don't repair and strengthen that pipeline, you can't solve this problem. So coming back to the point you made about our working with recruiters in the sector, we work very closely with Morgan Hunt, and they've been very generous partners in the BLG jobs board. That's been a great success, and we're moving on to a chargeable system soon. Obviously, it'll do more, but it'll be an income stream for us, and it will be a one-stop shop for employers who want to diversify and for Black professionals who want to progress. Without those two coming together in a coherent and planned way, it's not going to work. Another of our partners, very strong supporter, FE Associates, is working with us. Matt Atkinson and I are collaborating on a Step Up to CEO program, where we'll be working with first, second tier Black leaders, preparing them for interview. Because as we know, the job of being a CEO is much more complicated than it used to do. Organizations are more complex. The fiscal challenge is really great. And because of the emergence of the group model, there's a very big risk that we will just get a white elite of CEOs, and there will be even worse stats to look back on. So we have to help them prepare for the challenge of running complex organizations. And I think that's going to be great, because we know from the past, when Peter Daly was the lead operator in FP recruitment, he made a big difference, because he facilitated the connection between boards who needed somebody to make a difference and Black leaders who could fill that role. If it wasn't for Peter, a lot of people who are successful principals now, or have been, would not have got into those positions. Ironically, most of them had to leave London and other metropolitan areas to make that difference. So we see this as a sort of continuum, Gavin. It's nothing new, but it does rely on us working with allies who want to roll their sleeves up and make a difference.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's good that you're coming up with strategies and plans to be able to do so. Stella, I didn't know if you want to add anything more to like sort of future talent pipeline and stuff like that.
Just wanted to add that it is the dimension of the role modelling for our students and for apprentices, to see leaders who look like them in those positions, and not only for Black students, but also for white students. I know that when I was a college principal, if I was in the lift or went into a classroom, I am the principal. You would see all the students, you'll see the white students, their eyes would sort of like expand a little bit. They would go, oh, kind of, you could hear that. And for the Black students, I always noticed a slight straightening up of the shoulders. So just goes to the research that YCMA produced, and also other research that shows that white students who have even one Black teacher hold Black people in high esteem. And of course, for Black students, seeing teachers who look like them encourages them. So for all, this is where I talk about anti-racism that lifts all, so there is something for this about the students that we need to have this pipeline, which is actually broken, Gavin. Then we don't have people generally coming into teaching. anywhere because people don't see it as an attractive profession anyway. The pay is poor, and it was ever thus. But at least there were people with a vocation who wanted to, and I think there are still people, but we need to attract those people. But there's also the hostile environments within which a number of our of Black teachers and leaders work in, that makes it sort of like unattractive. People want to leave.
Yeah, this is how to be able to make a change with that, for like you're saying, with students that are looking to see be inspired through to staff as well. Sophia, you've waited ages for me to bring this in. I'll drop this in. So Sophia was dropped this in earlier whilst we was talking around the work you're doing for Nations and also with the GLA, and I think it sort of then wraps it back really around the amazing achievement you have done with be able to bring from the 10-point plan to be able to bring it into community, to be able to bring people together, is hopefully with the pipeline that we're talking about trying to support. This can also be the same cases with large employers like you're doing with GLA, and also with Nations as well. So I just wanted to bring that. Sophia, thanks for getting involved, and it's a good point. Like this is like the 10-point plan was with for FE. What does it mean for HE? What does it mean for schools? What does it mean for employers? How can it sort of extend things on? So I know.
Gavin, can I come in there?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I'd just like to respond to Sophia. Sophia, I'm a fellow of the Institute of Directors, and I have tried to make some connections with the Institute around introducing our work. So I'd love to catch up with you as soon as possible to progress that.
Yeah, I think IOD would be a really interesting board. Wouldn't that be a lovely result coming out of this around working with the Institute of Directors, because it's large and small employers.
Can I say, Gavin, that on the back of Stella and Janek, I think it was, going to a conference run by Runnymede Trust, I think it was. Stella, was it?
Yes.
We made contact.
Depending on what you're going to say, but we did go to a conference in Runnymede.
In Leeds, and
yes.
that was attended by colleagues, friends now, from an organisation called Rios Partners, who operates global consultancy, operating South Africa, Brazil, Europe, United States. And we've made a very strong connection there, because obviously the challenge that we're addressing here is present in Africa, it's present in Brazil, huge potential market. So that shows that there is people are attracted to our model because it's a practical framework. It allows organizations to take control of their own destiny. And that's why, as Stella said, as a former IOD member as well, we'd love to make contact with Sophia and have a conversation. Yeah,
no, that's cool. And I think what is interesting as well, and why would anyone want to get involved with it, is like you're saying, you're developing communities of practice. You're working with people in different. It isn't around you must do. It's taking people on a journey, and I think that's just been the geniuses. You mentioned conference. I'm going to do a total plug. So date for the diary for everyone is 21st of March 2024. So get it in your diaries. I know everyone is busy, so get it in, get involved, because who knows what's going to happen in between now and March? Like cracking IoT, going to be getting in Brazil. Who knows? It's like all sorts of happening really. We're coming up to time's flown. So with every one of our live streams ever, we've always said, if you could dream and dream big, what would you want to see next? And I think it'd be really lovely to do that today when we're reflecting on 3 years. There's the impact report launched today as well. Everyone, please, do check it out. It's really, really good to see. There's loads of stuff we haven't covered in there, like what's happened with conferences, what's happened with different partners. There's only so much time we can do to do that. But like Stella, if you used to dream big, what would you want to see next year? Like if we were to do this time next year, what would you want to see as an impactful change, or a new relationship or a new partnership or something like that?
Wow. Gavin, I alert you to the fact that we'll be asking you the same question. So that you can
Always.
this up. But I'm just, I am so, I think, so really overwhelmed by the work of the Welsh Government and the anti-racist Wales 2030 action plan, where it is that Wales wants to be an anti-racist nation by 2030. And they started on the journey. It's the only nation I know in the world that wants to do this. They are putting weight and strength and commitment and investment and time into this, and it's just been amazing to be part of that journey. Wouldn't it be amazing if across the other three nations we had a similar commitment to become anti-racist nations, with a timescale, with investment, with support from the top down? I think that would be my dream.
Yeah, the Welsh Government, what a cool bunch, and they you know, they're so inclusive with like bringing in different partners to get help. They're not like, we've got all the answers. They're like, well, how can we get there? It's just like, and it just seems that's to be the way to go, isn't it? Yeah, what a brilliant shout. Robin, how about for you? What would you want to see if you could dream and dream big on this?
I think if I were to really aim high, I'd want to see all schools, all FE colleges, and the rest of the sector, all HEIs, really embracing the ethnic equity in education campaign. Because, as I said before, you know, our key aim is a socially cohesive, anti-racist Britain, in which we are actually making use of that huge talent pool, all of the whole talent pool out there. And I think if our education institutions embrace the two key planks, so widening the pool of teachers and leaders across the institutions, and also closing down and eradicating student attainment gaps that are quite clearly persistent. Those two things would make a huge difference to UK PLC. So that's the dream I would have.
Yeah, nice, cool. I'll answer it. So my dream to be dream big, and it's to be honest, pretty big one. And but why can't we dream big? Would be, this started off with what a brilliant plan around looking at FE. Do you know what I mean? What was an incredibly horrific situation across the world that happened, and the pandemic happened at the same time. Everyone was in a weird place, and a horrific situation happened in the States. And then you got something really good come out of it, and it made change. And I would love to be able to see the same change. Like maybe there could be a way to interact with LinkedIn, or there could be a way to be able to interact with the business world, because further education, schools, higher education is all about preparing people for the future of work, isn't it? I mean, it's lifelong learning for joy and for mental health and well-being, but also a big chunk of this is around how do we help people with progression and to be able to move forward. And I think if we could do that, FE, universities, schools, they've all got to then make a change, because they're meeting the employer needs. And I'd love to be able to see something better. Like you said, it goes into Brazil, it could grow into South Africa, it could grow into Chile, it could grow into Portugal. It could go across the world. And I'd love that. I'd love to be able to see. And then education have to follow, because they've got to meet the employer's need. I think that would be amazing. I hope things progress with IOD. Would be really good. But thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. A really big one for the diary. I know it's a way away, but please slot it in, 21st of March 24. Stella, thank you. Robin, thank you. And thank you for bringing us along on the journey from literally, I've said it earlier, but from day one. And we really appreciate that. The audience has appreciated it and has wanted to get involved. So, thank you. I'd really encourage everyone. There's going to be a catch-up legacy article going live at 11, and that'll be there if you can't catch it today. If you're busy, you'll be able to catch this video. You'll be able to catch the article. Links through to the impact report as well. Please do check it out. Grab a coffee. 30 minutes for the impact report, and it will just really hopefully inspire you and make you want to be able to get involved and learn different ways to be getting involved. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. The time's gone. I've gone over, as I have done on every stream. But thank you, everyone, for joining today.
Thank you, Gavin, for your advocacy and your support. Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today. And hopefully, this time next year, we'll be able to see even more growth and development, and more partners and more people along the way. And, Stella, Robin, Amanjit, I know you're watching as well, and I'm sorry you can join us today. But, thank you. And thank you for also being inclusive in this. You've not been dictatorial. You've not said these are all the answers. You've included everyone on the journey. And thank you for that. And thank you for making a difference, and everyone that's been able to do that. So much to do. Let's hopefully next year those numbers will change. Hopefully we'll see increase, particularly in like areas of like London and stuff like that. That it will be not just like one or two people, but the pipeline is there. So that's for the future. Like in 10 years' time, that's the dip point. We're going to come up now. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully that's the way to go. But thank you, everyone. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll see you really soon. Bye.
Thanks.